The wrong drill bit can ruin a project fast. So today I'm going to show you 5 drill bits to get professional results, and then there's one bit I would absolutely avoid because I think it's a waste of money. Let's go. I think every wood shop would benefit for having 5 drill bits of different styles for different reasons in their shop, including this one, which has people calling me a liar and a scammer and all kinds of stuff because of the results this thing actually produces. They don't believe it. More on that later. Number 1 on the list, and I'm going to show some accessories throughout this video that'll really help you get better results and overall have a better experience with drilling holes and things like that. The first set of drill bits I think every woodworker should own are called twist bits. Some people call them angle bits, but most call them twist bits. I got this entire set, very reasonable. I'll link to all of these drill bits in the description and the pinned comment, as well as that shop button here on YouTube if available. And of course, TV viewers can scan the QR code. This bit set, I think, is one of those that are just a no-brainer because it has multiples of each size. And if you know anything about drill bits, you break them. You hold the drill wrong or hit a knot or any number of things can cause them to break. And so having a bunch of these, especially in the smaller ones, which are more prone to break, is very handy. Now, a twist bit is really good for drilling regular holes. So if you're just drilling a pilot hole or you just need to punch a hole through the wood, a twist bit is the way to go. There are a few downsides to twist bits, which include that it's very hard to get them pinpoint accurate. But one way to avoid that is getting a spring-loaded punch like you see here. You just line it up on your mark and press down, and a spring pops that down and puts a dent in the wood. That gives your twist bit a perfect spot to get started. That way it doesn't walk all over the place. If you've ever tried to drill something and the drill bit moved and you drilled the hole in the wrong spot, it's very frustrating, especially if it ruins the board or ruins the project. So you want to make sure to use something like that to get those started exactly. Now obviously there's bunches of sets to choose from. Again, I like this set right here just because it's got multiple sizes. And of course there's this DeWalt set that's very affordable and very nice in this nice little case so you can keep up with your bits. The great thing about these two is you can see what bits you have at a glance. I recommend them both. Now before we get to the other bits, there's a few things you can do to level up or help you in the shop. This is a little drill guide. These are very inexpensive, and what these are great for is figuring out what size screw you're going to be using so you can pick the right size bit. These are extremely handy to have. They're handy as a shirt pocket, actually, and they're very inexpensive. Another very cool drill bit accessory is from the Montana brand. This is a countersink and a driver bit in one, so you don't have to switch drills or have 2 drills. You could just have this one. This thing is crazy cool. Now, it works very much like a pneumatic type accessory where this collar locks it in and out. You can unlock it, switch it around to the drill bit, lock it back, drill your pilot hole, and then flip it over and drive the screw with the driver bit. This thing is really cool, especially if you're working up on a ladder or doing things where you don't have good reach. Another very cool accessory you can pick up is these little screw holders. Now, if you've ever been on a ladder and you're trying to drill in a screw and it keeps falling and you want to throw your drill, I've been there. We've all been there. This prevents that. This is one of those tools, like, it's genius because you know how frustrating it is to try to start a screw up above your head or driving above your head or anything like that, and it just holds it in there so that you don't have to worry about that. And it's very, very, very inexpensive, and it's cool to have these. It's so simple, but it works. Another accessory that helps you if you're up on a ladder or working on scaffold or anything like that come out a few years ago from a very small company. A couple in Florida designed this, got it patented. It's called the Power Boot. I featured this on the channel a while back, and it's very, very ingenious. You can be able to take your bits and your screws with you. It'll even open up so you can keep extra bits inside. It's got magnets so you can stick the screws to it. They come out with a new accessory for this. It's a mounting plate that you stick on all of your batteries so your Power Boot isn't stuck to one battery. It can change between multiple batteries. It's a very cool product if you're in the market or if you think this will be useful for you. Link in the description. Number 2 on the list are brad point bits. These have a point on the end, brad point. I don't know how they got the name, maybe Brad invented them. These actually have a nice sharp point on the end that you don't necessarily need to use that center punch to mark the hole because that point you can line up exactly wherever you've marked to drill. That's what I love about these because they are dead accurate, and because that point just sticks down in the wood, then it doesn't walk around on you. It drills exactly where you stick it. These are great to have. I bought this Owl Tools set of brad point bits a while back. There's 12 sizes in there. I've used them for a variety of things, from sheetrock, which is why one of them got white all over it, all the way to wood, different things like that. They're just handy to have in the shop, and they're great for that pinpoint accuracy when you need it. The next set of bits I think every woodworker should have every woodworker should have in their shop are called Forstner bits. These bits, there's a few styles I'll show you here. There's one that's very affordable and then one that's kind of a buy once, cry once. Now the Irwin brand, I've had this set, I bought this multiple years ago, probably 5, 6 years ago. It's one of the better purchases I've made as far as accessories like bits, blades, that sort of thing. Now I bought this set because I needed a way to drill a hole, a really clean hole, which is what these are really good for, when I was making a dog kennel so I could put the bars in there. Well, one of the tricks you can use with any drill bit, including these Forstner bits, is take a piece of painter's tape exactly where you want the depth to stop. That way it kind of gives you a visual indicator right there where the depth is going to be. So when you start drilling down and the tape reaches the top or the bottom, whichever way you want it, then you know when to stop. That's just a good way to know how deep to drill your holes, and you can get them consistently accurate every time. Now Forstner bits have a few features about them. First off, they have a brad point on there, so you can get pinpoint accuracy with these as well. They also have blades that run across the middle of this drill bit, so it's cutting the wood out of the middle of your stock. And then also around the edges, it's also cutting the wood as it goes down, and you'll see all those chips flying out that give you that. There's a few things you can do with Forstner bits that are very difficult to do with other type bits. First, you can drill the edge or the end of a board. So if you need a notch or something like that, these are good for that. You can also drill multiple holes in a row. So if you're creating handles, which is what I used them for a lot, was creating handles and stove covers, you can just drill those holes all the way across and it gives you a nice handle. And then also you can drill angles with these, especially if you have a drill press or something like this Mousecraft Drillmate Pro, which is basically a no drill press, no problem type thing. It will allow you to drill those angled holes using different style bits, especially with these Forstner bits. If you do have to drill all the way through with a Forstner bit, there's a couple things you can do to prevent tear out on the backside, because if you don't use anything on the backside, it's going to blow it out. In other words, there's just going to be a lot of fraying, and as you see here, it'll just tear it all up, and you don't want to do that. First, what you can do is drill until the point, that brad point, sticks out the back, and then reverse and go on the other side and drill from the other side. It'll give you 2 clean sides. It's a very easy way to do that if there's no way to support it. If there is a way to support it, the best thing to do is just lay it down on some type of scrap, make sure it's flat, and then you can drill all the way through without stopping, and that'll give you a clean cut as well. That's really true for any drill bit. If you can back it up with some type of scrap, it'll give you a clean cut. Now this is an Irwin set. They have 2 different sets depending on your budget. This is a 14-piece set, but there's also an 8-piece set that will save you a little bit of money. I recommend going ahead and getting this 14-piece just because you'll have more sizes to choose from when you need them. This goes all the way up to 2 inches, all the way down to a 1/4 inch. These are extremely nice for around $50 to $60 for the entire set. It's hard to beat. Now Forstner bit does a few things. First, if you're going to drill a flat bottom hole, so like when I was building the dog kennel, I needed just a regular hole that didn't go all the way through. That's where Forstner bits really shine, that are not going to be through holes. You can make through holes with them. It's just best not to, and we'll talk about why. They're also really good at making clean holes. When you start drilling the hole, it actually cuts the wood, and you'll see shavings just flying off when you're using this, versus something like a saw blade where it's just dust. These are actually shavings that are coming off the wood because these are cutting the wood. And that's why it makes such a clean hole all the way around the edges as well as on the bottom. These specific Irwin bits look like teeth on there, just like you would see on like a table saw blade or your miter saw blade, and you can feel those teeth. They're very, very sharp. The only drawback to these is they're not perfectly clean holes. In other words, there's a little roughness there. It depends on if that matters to you or not. The main difference between the Irwin bits and the fish wave bits is how they're made. If you look and see that on the wave bits, they're more serrated. Think of a serrated knife. These cut extremely clean. Because of the serrated design, it creates less friction than the sawtooth design like on the Irwin, and so it's less heat. Less heat will keep these sharper longer, and if you do need to resharpen these, they can be resharpened up to 30 times according to fish. So that's the thing. The metals that are used to produce these are just higher quality than the more budget-friendly ones, so they're going to stay sharper longer, and they do give a very, very clean hole. But is it worth the price of these? I think most people would be better served with these Irwins, honestly, unless you're drilling a bunch of holes. If you're drilling a bunch of holes and you need clean cuts and a lot of sharpness life in these, then yeah, I think they're worth it. But for most people, I'm still using this exact same set all the time and have zero issues with them. They're just slightly less clean of the hole than the wave fish, but these are way more expensive. So it just depends on what you're looking for there. Here's a power tip for you. The bigger the bit, if it's taking off a lot more material because of the diameter of the bit, the slower you should spin them because it will help reduce that heat. These bits are going to cut the wood if they're properly sharpened. You shouldn't have to force these in there. While you may have to move it a little bit to get it to bite, you shouldn't be putting a lot of pressure on these. Even if you're using it in a drill press, it should be cutting the wood. And so slower speeds are just hogging the material out slower and keeping these cooler. Now this drill bit called into question my integrity by hundreds of people, with a Facebook reel that had several million views, and then also on the original video when I showed these. And the reason is I put these up against Forstner bits drilling through holes. When you use the Forstner bit, you can see there was a lot of tear out. When I used the wood owl overdrive bits, which is what these are, it drilled in a perfectly clean hole. And people called me a liar, that I was scamming, that I was doing something that I didn't do with the other bit. I mean, you name it, it was going on. But I'm telling you, these bits drill the cleanest through hole that I've ever seen, if you do it properly. As I said, are called wood owl overdrive bits. They're basically auger bits. You see the big long flutes on there that really take the stock of the material you're drilling and get it out of that hole. And then the end is also a brad point tip, so you can get pinpoint accuracy with these. And the way they're shaped on the end, they're cutting the wood. They're cutting it out of there. They're not sawing the wood. So you're getting really good clean cuts. And when it comes out the backside, more times than not, it's going to be perfectly clean. Now there are instances where it may tear out a little bit, but for the most part, I drill over and over and over. You can see you're getting perfectly clean holes coming out of the back side. That's without anything supporting the back. There's a few things you can do to make that happen over and over. First, put your drill on the numbers 1 setting if it's a 2-speed or 3-speed drill, especially for these bigger size bits. You're going to get a better result. It's going to spin it slower, let the wood get cut instead of blown out of there. Number 2, don't put a ton of pressure on the drill. Let this bit do the work. This drills some of the fastest holes too, so if you're in a hurry, this thing will blast through them super fast. Now Wood Owl claims you'll get 35% more battery life using these bits, and the reason I think that's probably accurate, probably give or take a few percent, is the fact that how fast they work versus you using something like a hole saw or a Forstner bit or anything like that. These things just drill faster holes. If you're drilling holes through wood, these are the only way to go in my opinion. And if you were one of those that called my integrity into question about lying about these bits, give them a try. See how they work. Worst case scenario, you can send them back, but I know they'll work, and so do you. One thing about these bits is they also fit in a 1/4 inch impact. So if you have an impact, chuck them in there because they have that 1/4 inch fitting on the end, should you want to drill with an impact for some reason. Hammer drill? No. The next set of bit I think every woodworker should have is called a countersink bit. Now, fun fact, countersink bits were actually invented by Mr. W.L. Fuller out of Rhode Island. They still have a business. I got to meet his granddaughter. Was one of the coolest things we ever done in a trade show was get to meet her and hear her story about their company. But I think every woodworker should have a set of countersink bits. Now, I think W.L. Fuller making some really good bits. They stand behind their products. There's also this Wood Owl set that I've had for a long time. Now, the reason you would use these is basically you're drilling a pilot hole, and then you're also drilling a countersink hole, so you can hide the screw heads. So if you're trying to join 2 pieces of wood together, if you've ever tried to drill a screw near the end of the board, what winds up happening? It splits, it breaks, and then it just ruins the board. So then you have to go get another one or cut another one or go to the store. This is going to prevent that. If you use a countersink bit, especially if you drill a pilot hole, which is what this is called, the initial bit, drill that pilot hole. It's going to also give you a countersink at the same time. Then you can drive that screw without it splitting the wood. These are absolutely essential in the wood shop. There's also a self-centering drill bit, which I'm going to lump in here. If you're doing cabinet hardware or hinges or something like that, these work extremely good because they self-center on the cabinet hardware and then drill that pilot hole. These are a must-have as well, and they're very inexpensive. If there's already a hole there and you need a countersink then, or especially if you need bigger countersinks, check out this Irwin set. You can use these, again, if there's already a hole. This will just allow you to give yourself a countersink to hide that screw head. Another countersink style is this. It has a stop on it that prevents a couple things. For one, it prevents you from going too deep, so all of them are very uniform. These are really nice if you want your projects to look exactly the same. It also prevents a little bit of that scarring if you drill too deep. These are just really nice to have for consistency. There's a bonus set here called hole saw kits before we get to the ones that I think are a total waste of money, mostly. This hole saw kit's from Milwaukee, and I've used hole saw kits for a variety of reasons. They're really good if you need to drill really big holes, like when you make cornhole boards, or even this Connect 4 game that I made. Like, there's several different reasons why you would use these, but I would specifically keep these to thinner woods for the most part because these are literally saws. The reason they're called a hole saw. There's saw teeth all around the edge, and they actually create sawdust and not chips, as you can see when you're drilling with one. They take a lot longer to drill through, and then of course there's always the frustration of that dang thing getting stuck in there and you having to pry it out. It's a pain in the rear. These are good to have when you need them, but overall, if a Forstner bit or the wood owl bit will drill the hole, that's the one I'm gonna go with. But for the bigger size holes, there's not a lot you can do to replace a good hole saw kit. And when you need them, you'll be glad you got them. Now this set of bits, I think, is a waste of money for most woodworkers, and that is a spade bit. Now, why? Most of us have seen these style bits. They're called spade bits because they kind of a shape of a spade. Now I have this DeWalt spade bit set. Why did I buy it? Well, sometimes you need it, but I think most people, it's a waste of money when you're starting out, especially for beginner woodworkers. Don't drill holes with these in your woodworking projects if you want clean holes. These are meant for rough holes, rough construction. So people drilling holes through studs. If you use this to drill a hole through a piece of pine or something, it's going to blow it out like crazy on the backside. In other words, a lot of tear out, a lot of splintering, because these are actually made for drilling fast holes. Personally, if I was in construction and drilling holes through studs, I would get one of these wood owl. They just drill faster and cleaner holes. But a lot of people do like spade bits. I just think they're a waste of money for beginners because they drill such a nasty hole. But if you like them and you use them, you do you. Now this little set of bits is specifically designed for metal. Now why would a woodworker need metal bits? Well, it depends on what you're doing, but sometimes you get a part in or a tool in, or even on this clamp rack, if I need a bigger hole in this metal, how are you gonna do that? Well, you can use your twist bits, but they usually get bound up when you try to drill a bigger hole. They break, all kinds of stuff. That's what this set does. It makes the hole bigger. Maybe they drill the wrong hole size, or you just need a bigger bolt or a lag bolt or something you're gonna put through this metal. You can use these to drill bigger holes in metal, and they work very good. What's great about this set is they're clearly marked. As you can see, you know exactly what size you get to, so it's very easy to see exactly where to stop. When you say you're going from 3/16 all the way up to 7/16, you'll know exactly when you get there, or even 1/2 inch. These go from 1/8 of an inch all the way to 7/8 of an inch, so you can expand the holes with those. And they're titanium, so it's awesome. Bonus number 2, because if you're drilling holes, you gotta be driving screws, because most of woodworkers drilling holes driving screws. We're gluing stuff together. I've got a few sets of driver bits that I've been using over the years, and I think they're better than, especially if you just buy cheap knockoffs. The DeWalt brand, really good impact driver bits. I've used several of those. You even saw me using one in this video. Milwaukee brand, I like this set. I've kept up with this one somehow. I always put my bits back when I can. The DeWalt, they're scattered all over the shop. And then the Makita set here that comes with actually several cool, useful little sockets and driver sockets, and also various size bits. So I'll link to all these in the description, so you can check those out. If this video was helpful to you and you're new to routers and you want to learn more about that, click that box right there. Teach you everything you need to know about using a router, choosing router bits. Clicking that box gets you the big old virtual fist bump.